Hi there, my name is Megan Freed. I am one of the lawyers at Freed Marcroft, and today I'm here with three of our other lawyers, Brandy, Courtney, and Misty, and we're going to be talking about how we're doing remote client meetings, including mediations during the COVID crisis. So we have been technologically set up for this unintentionally for a long time. All of our staff has laptops, and so we're all able to work from home, and we've always used video conferencing and telephone conferencing with clients because we have a tendency to work with people who are out of state, and we have a pretty large international practice as well. So we've been doing this, but we're deploying it in full force right now. And so this video is intended to bring together some of the best practices that we've learned and how we're seeing this phone and video conferencing work well for our divorce and family law clients. So we're going to start by talking about client meetings generally, particularly the Freed Marcroft strategy session, which is the first meeting that our clients have with their legal team. But then we're going to talk about the circumstance of a video mediation in particular and how virtual mediations work for folks. So with that, why don't we start and talk about remote meetings and strategy sessions, and why don't we talk about how those work on the phone? Courtney, you've had quite a few phone strategy sessions, right?
Yes. They've been, yeah, I've had a couple just this week actually. So I've had plenty. They're really they're beneficial. They're accessible for everybody. They're expedient. What we do is send out a conference line so that the lawyer and the paralegal on the file can be on that call, and we can discuss everything we normally would in a strategy session just over the phone, so that clients don't have to wait, during these circumstances because of social distancing, or regularly if they're out of state or just the schedules are difficult. It's something we've been doing for a while, so we found it to be really helpful and beneficial to keep everything moving forward.
Yeah, one of the things that we're always trying to do is weigh what's the best situation for any given client. So is what's most important that we meet face-to-face versus is what's most important that we meet now. And right now, because we're not doing face-to-face meetings to make sure that we keep everyone safe, one of the things we're trying to do is figure out, okay, is phone or video better for clients? And Courtney and Misty, let's talk a little bit about that, because we've had experience with both. Phone always obviously has the advantage of it's easy, right? You just pick up the phone, so it has some speed to it, but video also has some advantages.
So I've done both, but we were just talking before this call about how great the video conferences are, and I know Misty, you had a phone conference recently that you suggested would be better if it was video. So I don't know if you want to talk about how that would have been helpful.
Sure. I think particularly for our strategy sessions and that first meeting with a client, it's not only getting information and giving information, but it's beginning that relationship with them. And so the advantage of having a video, and what has worked tremendously, far greater than I could have even anticipated, is just having this face-to-face, to be able to see facial expressions and body language. And so much of our communication is not what we say, but how we're expressing ourselves. And so the way that we're demonstrating compassion and patience and understanding and frustration, and you're getting all of that from our clients to be able to really see how they're feeling. And a phone is certainly better than email. You get the tone of voice. But when it comes to really understanding their position and where they're coming from, and vice versa, I think video is really superior. And we've been able to make that easy because it's just a link that we can send to clients. And so more and more when I'm having those meetings, I'll offer it. And we can certainly do it by phone if there's somebody who doesn't have video conferencing that's easily accessible to them. But I think the advantage of just being able to have that real, true face-to-face introduction and begin that relationship from step one, as opposed to doing it over the phone, I think is an advantage, and something that I'm really happy that we're able to offer so easily to our clients.
Yeah, I agree. Me too. I think it can be a little bit intimidating for people to get on video, and maybe if their workplace has gone virtual and so they're more used to being on Skype calls than they would have. So, in-person meetings have sort of transitioned to being Skype or Zoom meetings, that maybe we're all getting a little bit more comfortable with being on camera, but I think for some people there is still that newness or intimidation. And I appreciate what you both said about why it's worth it, right? If it's nervousness about being in front of a camera, it's more akin to being in a room with someone than it is to being on a camera. I mean, I think the reading of cues and social expressions, one of the things that, you know, our body language tells is, like, you can't hear a nod, right? A nod means either I agree or I'm listening, or that body language when someone pulls back, like maybe they aren't agreeing or aren't following along. And being able to see all of that is just tremendously helpful, both for us and how we help the client, but also for the client's understanding of the fullness of what we're trying to communicate. Let's talk about mediation a little, because that's even more nuanced. So for those of you who are less familiar, a mediation is where we are sitting as a neutral, who is a lawyer who's helping people reach their own resolutions to the family law issue or the divorce issue. So we're the guide. We don't represent either client. But we shepherd them through so that they have legal information, but also can reach their own decisions. And so in that context, we're dealing with 3 people, not 2 people, which is really what we were talking about when we were talking about client meetings. And so all of you have moved your mediations virtual, either on the phone or via video. And I just have been so grateful for our clients' desire to keep going, right? I'm impressed with them often, but this is one of the things that I'm particularly impressed with. So I think, Brandy, you had some things to share about your experience with phone mediations.
Yes. So I had a couple of phone sessions with my mediation clients, and it's gone very well. The benefit of that is we can meet you where you are. So some of you are still at work. Some of you are working at home. Some of you are homeschooling at home as well. And you don't necessarily have time to set up a video link, or you just have so much chaos going around, you'd feel more comfortable on the phone.
One less thing.
Exactly. So we can absolutely accomplish what we need to. As Courtney said earlier, we have a conference line where everyone can just jump on. Super helpful. We can talk about almost all substantive issues. It can get a little funky if we've got to review some documents, but still, that's nothing we can't overcome. But my clients have found it, positive. We've been able to continue to move forward, and that's, something that we can do whether or not we're in the middle of an outbreak. So,
right. And of course, that feature of being able to share your screen and review a document is something that is an advantage for video conferencing too, when there's a mediation session where there are going to be documents. That way everyone can look at them at the same time. Some ways that's easier than how we share documents in a room.
Right.
Courtney, Misty, do you want to talk about video mediations a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I had my first video mediation earlier this week, and you mentioned clients being uncomfortable. To be honest, I was a little nervous about it. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, and if the clients would be engaged or if it would be kind of awkward. And the exact opposite happened. It was the most productive session we've actually had. Like Misty said, you have the benefit on video of being sort of face-to-face without being in the same room, obviously to be safe, but you can read facial expressions and body language, and all the while having this sort of comfort from being distant and not in the same room with the person that you're in conflict with. So I think it lends itself to more candor and open and honest communication between the parties, because they're empowered to be really open and clear about their goals, their priorities, their concerns, their side of the story, with the comfort of not having to do that in the room with the person they're in conflict with. So
it's really interesting. It's almost as though when we were talking before, we were talking about this sort of discomfort with being on video. But when you put it in this context, in the mediation context, there can be comfort in being in your own home,
Mm-hmm.
but still face to face.
Yeah, I think it reduces some of the anxiety. You're comfortable in your home or in your office, if you have a private office at work, having these conversations. I think it lowers the emotional temperature if it's a higher conflict mediation. So I think there's a lot of benefit from it. I know earlier this week, the clients I was working with, one party was more reserved and quieter and less engaged when we had met multiple times in person, and then during our virtual session, he was the most engaged he's ever been. It was our best session. Like I said, he was much more communicative and very clear about what his needs were, and we got farther in that one session than we had in our prior sessions combined.
It's really amazing. It's something that we're learning through COVID is how to be more expansive with our technology, I think. So it's not just when someone is located in France or Germany or India that we can use it in the future. I mean, we're going to have clients that have joined us since self-quarantine and stay safe, stay home started that we've never met in person. And it'll be interesting to see if those clients stay mostly virtual, or in the mediation context when you may find in 2 years, when God willing everything is back to normal, that there's a vibe in the room and you suggest a virtual mediation instead of being in the room together to sort of increase comfort levels depending on the room. Just a different way to use a tool we had. I think it's great. And again, I'm grateful to all of you, and I'm grateful to all of our clients. Thanks for sharing your experiences so far, and some of the benefits of phone quick and some of the benefits of video being in person and also creating a safe space. So if there's anything we can do to help anyone, please give us a call or an email. All of us have our email addresses on our on the freedmarcroft.com website, and our phone number is 860-560-8160. Thanks so much for joining us for another segment in our In Control with COVID series.